You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode of Chiro Hustle is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Chiropractic Unity, Pure Chiro Notes, and the Chiro Dex app. Let's hustle.
Okay guys, welcome to the Chiro Hustle episode number 11, and today's guest, we have a very, very smart dude here on the show, and here's your host, Jim Chester, to tell you all about him.
So today we had the honor to talk with Jeffrey Langmaid, the evidence-based chiropractor. And what he does is he figures out how to get referrals from other medical professionals. And for anybody that's interested in that, stay tuned for the episode.
So we're going to start off with a two-part question. What is your chiropractic story, and what influenced you to become a doctor in the first place?
That is a great question. My chiropractic story and what has influenced me to become a chiropractor in the first place. To a certain extent, they're actually one and the same, which is probably not unique. I imagine many chiropractors start out the same way. And really, it's all about my dad. My dad actually came into chiropractic in the way that many people are first exposed to it. He had hurt his low back, his lumbar spine. He hurt his low back. He visited a chiropractor, and he did awesome and was super satisfied with the results. And at the time, I was early on in undergraduate school. So I was just starting college. And I was interested in becoming potentially like a knee surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon, but I wasn't like really feeling it. I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, but I just wasn't loving it, but I had talked about it since I was like probably 8 years old. So, as you can probably already start to piece together, my dad was like, hey, why don't you come up and meet this chiropractor the next time you're on vacation from school, next time you're on school break. And I think he's a cool guy, and you might learn a thing or two. And I was like, okay, cool, like no expectation whatsoever. And when I went in to meet the doc, he was just a great chiropractor. Super cool dude, helping people, loved his practice, loved his patients. And as I learned about chiropractic through him, it was like it fell directly in line with what I already believed to be true in health and wellness, but had never identified as chiropractic. I didn't have the exposure previous to it. So that's really what started my journey to be a chiropractor. And then, later on down the road, which this sounds crazy, but I didn't know this even at that time, but not too far down the road, I learned that my great-grandfather was a chiropractor, had been a chiropractor, and actually studied under BJ way back in the day, 100 years ago in the late 19-teens and early 1920s at Palmer, and probably was one of the first chiropractors ever in Rhode Island. So that's a little bit of my history and kind of what started my journey.
That's pretty amazing. I don't think many other doctors have a kind of story quite like that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It's a little unique. I mean, it's funny that it's like it took my dad's, injury to kind of stimulate my interest, but then it's like the more that I learned about the profession, the more that it was like, whoa, this is already what I think, this is already how I feel, this is already my thoughts on health. And to piece that together, and then to find out there was a legacy piece as well. Yeah, I guess it is a little unique after all.
So I got a chance to be on a social media panel with you at the Chiro Sushi Summit. And I know you have some really cool things that you're involved with, one being the evidence-based chiropractic brand and one being the smart chiropractic brand. Would you say those things make you pretty unique to the chiropractic world?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I'm gonna go two sides to the story on that, Jim. Yeah, both you and I were on that panel out in Vegas, and it was awesome. And kudos to you, because you did a great job. And also, I would be remiss to bring up, you were interviewing people all weekend long and putting out some killer content that stimulated a lot of thoughts for me, and just helped, I think, connect a lot of the docs that maybe couldn't make it out that weekend. We're still able to kind of interact with a lot of the people that were able to make it out. So great job on your accord, by the way.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. And, I try to push everybody to live outside their four walls all the time. And I felt like I brought people into the four walls of the Chiro Sushi Summit by doing those Facebook Live interviews.
I could not agree more. I think that you did a great job. And, I think that a lot of the docs that were unable to make it probably saw what they were missing, and will be interested in going this coming year. And I'm sure that you and I will both be there hanging out again as well. So I look forward to that. But to answer your question specifically, yeah, I think I kind of go two ways with this, and I'll just be, very, very transparent. Number one is that I don't think that my skill set or expertise, anybody can do it. It's just, I'm not a special or unique guy. Now, I put in a lot of work, but I think anybody can build their areas of expertise in accordance with their interests and the amount of work they put in. But for me, kind of where I've carved out my niche and where probably people know me best from are the two things that you mentioned. The evidence-based chiropractor, which is really marketing and research combined to build referral relationships with other healthcare providers in your community from a chiropractic perspective. And then the smart chiropractor, which is using research to market and to communicate with your patients. So one is kind of B2C, meaning the smart chiropractor, it's business to customer, business to consumer, B2C. And then the evidence-based chiropractor is really B2B, because it's about the chiropractor bridging the gap with the other healthcare professionals in their community. So yeah, I'd say that those two things are probably the platforms by which people would know me, and where I've spent my greatest amount of time to build that expertise.
And I've been following you for a while. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the B2B and how the evidence-based objective and what you do with that, and what it really means to run that platform, and how that can really help a chiropractic practice grow.
Yeah, no doubt. I'd love to. So for me, the evidence-based chiropractor is really, it's about the core principle is that it's about highlighting the chiropractic adjustment. So really, in my opinion, the breadth and depth of chiropractic research has never been greater. And it's something that our past generations didn't have the luxury of. Back in the 1950s and 60s, there just wasn't all of these papers out there showcasing how effective and how safe and how fantastic the results are with chiropractic care. But now we have it. So we got to do something with it. And a lot of chiropractors out there, it's not their fault, they're just not caught up to date with how impressive the body of literature supporting what we do is. And if we don't know about it, what I would say is, like, if we don't, as a chiropractic community, know the literature inside and out, how the heck do we expect a general primary care physician in some random town to know about it? They're just not. So the onus is on us to bridge that gap and build that relationship. So with the evidence-based chiropractor, through a variety of mechanisms, we basically provide the tools, the systems, the support, and the processes which sounds very generic, but I'll happy to dive in a little deeper. But we basically give that A to Z formula on how to bridge the gap and build a relationship. So we talk about the three legs of the stool: sending case notes, having those meetings, following up with research, and how to build your target list, how to execute the target list, how to go through a meeting, the right questions to ask. And we make it simple and dead easy, whether you're the most extroverted chiropractor or like me. I'm introverted, but it can work no matter what your personality type, because you just make it into a system and a process, and you don't have to sell chiropractic. You get to showcase chiropractic. And when you do that, and you show the social proof through the case notes, when you ask questions and find your value add through the meetings, and then you follow up with the research that is interesting and adds value to that other practitioner's office, well, then you just have a potent mixture to build that referral relationship.
All that sounds really cool to me. I would like...
Thanks.
And, as I've been a part of your network for the past year or so, I've almost read everything that you've done. I've watched all your videos that you do. something I would like you to maybe speak to, like the future generation, the people that might be graduating like in a month or 2 months or 3 months. How would you maybe recommend for them to jump into this world that you've created?
Yeah, I think some of the best things that they can do, I mean, if they want to, I have a free student program, so I mean, that's just a super easy one. So if they visit the evidencebasedchiropractor.com, there's a resource tab, and then there's a little button that says students. If they click on that, it's completely free. And basically, there's multiple PDFs that they can download of research in an actionable format. There's some other reports and guides. So that's a good way to just easily get a taste of everything, no charge whatsoever, just to be able to check it out. But what I'd also recommend from the student perspective, if it's kind of a take-home action tip for them, is go on to PubMed, 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 the big research portal. Create a free profile. It's super easy. It almost looks like Google when you go there. It's basically like a big search bar. And there's a little advanced tab. Make yourself a free profile, and then you can actually set up search terms where PubMed will email you whenever those terms are hit. So what I mean by that is you set up a free account, and then you tell PubMed anytime chiropractic, anytime spinal manipulation, anytime adjustment, anytime any of these words are in a new research paper, they'll automatically, for free, email you a link to that paper. It might not be full text, but at least you'll be able to get the abstracts totally free. That'll keep you up to date better than 90% of the people out there just by doing that simple step.
That's a lot of value.
Yeah, it's a hugely untapped resource that I think, I mean, and that goes the same. I mean, we're talking about new docs, but I mean, really any practicing doc or anybody in the healthcare space, it's just a great tool to be able to keep up to date. That's totally free. That's out there. That just very, very few people utilize. Probably because a lot of people don't know about it. And the funny thing is, I always say too, which is the truth. You actually tell them when you even want them to email you. So you can set it up for them to email you monthly, quarterly, anytime the word is touched, every Monday morning at 7 a.m. with everything from the last week. It is like a super, super powerful tool.
Would you say that's one of the reasons why you've developed into the practitioner you are today, because you stay up to speed on all the research and all of the information that comes to you?
I would say that's 100% true because, sometimes the research, docs can get a little bit of blinded. We're all cognizant. We all are susceptible to this. You kind of get into your groove and you get those blinders on and you kind of do what you do. And there is a lot of good that comes of that. But for me, I would answer that question 100% yes. That by being exposed to the research, it helps me keep those, we all have blinders, but it helps me keep those blinders wider. And it also helps me better answer my patient's questions or direct them. So when a patient, here's a real world example. There was a paper that came out. We all see patients. Some patients come into us, every chiropractor, right? You see patients that are maintenance and wellness. You see patients that come in or that are in pain and everything in between. Well, sometimes this happens. Every chiropractor has seen this before. Patient comes in, they didn't exactly get where they wanted to. They just couldn't get over the hump. They go get an injection somewhere and they never come back again. And the crazy part is there is a research paper that explicitly showcases if a patient has to go get an injection, they did two brackets of patients. Both patients got injections. Some went back to the chiropractor for concurrent care, more care, and some didn't. And it was overwhelming. The results were super positive for the patients that got the injection, then went back to see their chiropractor, versus the patients that just went to get the injection. Now, I'm not advocating patients get injections unless they absolutely need it. But what I'm saying is that a lot of chiropractors lose their patient when the patient's like, oh, well, I failed with the chiropractor. Now I'm going to go to the medical doctor and get this injection, and I'm done there. Well, the research shows that they should actually be your office should be the first stop they come back to. But it's hard to talk about that unless you know the literature. And that's just one real simple example of where I think knowing the research helps with communication tremendously. And when you communicate at a higher level, you guys know this inside and out. When you communicate at a higher level, you build that audience, you build that trust, and it just works better for everybody.
So, do you have any mantras or inspirational quotes that help you be a better doctor? Like, what do you keep telling yourself to get you through, like, the hard times?
Oof, that is a really, really, really good question. I don't know. I still read a ton, and I'm trying to think of like a specific quote. I don't have a specific one. I would say I'll bring it to something. I was just listening to a podcast on my ride home that I was with a musician, and he was kind of talking about the creative cycle, and that it's like a wave, and when you can catch the wave and everything's going great, that's fantastic. You ride it for all it's worth. But when the seas are flat, you have to know that there's a wave coming again. And if there's stormy seas, you have to know that the clouds will pass. And so I don't have a specific quote, but that's something I was literally listening to like an hour ago, maybe, or less, that I think resonates with that. The best things that people say about you and the worst might not be true, but if you ride in the middle, then you're in good shape. So I think whether the seas are stormy, so to speak, or whether the getting is good, staying in the middle and keeping consistent with your practices, keeping consistent with your procedures, and keeping consistent with your ongoing learning and exposure to new things will temper things out and ultimately help you achieve your goals and inspirations. Or aspirations, I should say. So I always look towards consistency, and I also always look towards, if it's a tough time, knowing that time will pass, and to continue to move on, continue to move forward one step in front of the other. And I'll do the counterpoint to that: when the times are great, knowing that you're gonna hit a tough time and being prepared for it the best you can.
Well, I'm really proud of you for everything that you do. I know that, you're a guy that does a lot of work in the chiropractic profession when it comes to the social media market. When did it come to your realization that you better get on that?
Well, thank you. For me, it was pretty early on. Like, I realized very, very early on that social media allowed me to reach people faster. I could reach more people quicker than ever before and make an impact in a way that I couldn't without it. So for me, that was something that probably, I'm not super old school with it, but it's probably, I've probably had the Evidence-Based Chiropractor Facebook page for well over 5 or 6 years now. And it really was something that I just saw it was a great way to connect with docs. And I also saw it was a great way for docs to learn and to spread what I learned, to spread my, where I've had challenges, where there are opportunities, where there are learning moments, and building that community of other docs that can share that knowledge and help contribute was something that I just saw as a very, very valuable addition to anybody's practice. Because for me, when I would go on, and the Evidence-Based Chiropractor, just as with you guys and with all of us, right? It started with zero. Like, when I made the page, there was zero fanfare. Nobody knew who the heck I was. But when I saw one person like it, I got pumped. When I saw two, like when there was 100, I couldn't believe it. So, and to me, the inspiration was, wow, docs are listening and I'm making an impact. And from a doc's perspective, when they're working their Facebook pages and their media pages, they're doing the same things for the people and the prospects and their community members. When they can put out that content with consistency, and when they can educate, inform, enlighten, inspire all the people in their community, the impact for that is just so, it enables you to kind of spread so much quicker. The one-to-one, we were kind of talking offline a little bit, one-to-one meetings are still super important. But when you can hit that critical mass and get that message out at a more efficient rate, there's no better way to do it than social media.
And that actually brings us into our next question. Speaking on leveraging yourself into the market and growing your fan base through social media, what would you be able to accomplish if even more people knew about your cause and what you were doing?
Well, I think, a couple things that I always look for is really my goal, and this is something maybe I don't talk about too much, so that's a really good question. It'll get me talking about it. I kind of have a personal goal of really increasing chiropractic utilization and giving chiropractors the ability to have better, higher quality, higher paying jobs. So, that's what I'm into nationwide, worldwide conservative care with chiropractic at the forefront. Those are the things that I have a particular interest in, and that's kind of what drives me. So as far as, I feel like I just got off topic a little bit. so with that, those are really my goals and aspirations. So if more people knew about the evidence-based chiropractor, I would hope that they would be able to get some education and some inspiration, and some skills and hard tools to be able to give them the ability to communicate more confidently with other healthcare professionals in their community. And then in turn, their practice gets bigger, the chiropractic utilization in their town gets greater. Perhaps they add an associate, and imagine the amount of people. I've kind of done some audits, and through my members, I wouldn't do it if I didn't have anybody that implemented the strategies. It would be for naught. But all the credit due to the members of the evidence-based chiropractor, we've added millions of dollars into chiropractic that probably wouldn't have come before. Because a lot of the docs I work with, previous to, they were getting 0 referrals per month from medical doctors, maybe 1 or 2, and then when they're having 5 or 6, you can pretty much guess that those 4 or 5 incremental new patients, they probably weren't going to come in if that doc didn't refer them. If that doc wasn't referring before, that patient wouldn't have ended up in that office unless that relationship was built. So for me, if that doc can grow their practice, maybe add on an associate down the road, have a more stable income, help more people through the beauty of chiropractic care, then that is my goal. And the more people that know about the evidence-based chiropractor, my hope and vision is that those things would come true.
That brings me to a real interesting question for you, Jeffrey. Did you ever once have the standpoint that it was us against them? Or did you always kind of think that it's a team effort? And when I get a chance to talk to people in the public, I tell them you should have 2 types of doctors in your life. One to keep you healthy and one to save you from dying.
Right.
And, did you ever have a positioning in the world where you were like, you know what, it's chiropractic or bust?
Yeah. Early on, very, very early on in my career, I would say I did have a little bit more of that mentality. I probably had a little bit more chip on my shoulder. But what I found was that acting in that silo didn't serve anybody. Didn't help me grow my practice very quickly. In living in, it's kind of that fear versus love, living in maybe that little bit of fear or that defensiveness. I certainly wasn't helping as many patients as possible. And when I communicate and talk about building referral relationships, I agree exactly with what you said, Jim. It's about, they can do their thing and you can do yours. You're not pandering to them, but you're bridging the gap and exposing what you do. And I'll tell you, the medical doctors are, our kind of cousins, so to speak, on the other side of the aisle. They've never been more open to it. And to me, that's really been the eye-opener. So I started out, a little bit chip on my shoulder, a little bit siloed, and a little bit of us versus them. But what I found is, hey, you can run into a jerk in any profession, right? It doesn't matter who you are and what profession. But by and large, what I found was a lot of these docs out there, the MDs and the DOs, they are looking to do a good job. And for every kind of jerk or guy that you'd run across that you wouldn't want to send your worst enemy to based on their thoughts and their treatment options, you'd find a handful of them that really were open to things, that really were trying to do the right thing and were interested in chiropractic, but just never knew anything about it, which is why they hadn't started referring.
So where do you see the chiropractic profession in 20 years?
That is a good question. And I think, to be honest with you, I think it could go a few different ways. I think there are some pivotal points that are coming up that are really going to, kind of delineate which way we go. It's really difficult to predict the future. But what I would say is I would like to believe, and I'd like to think, and I'm going to do every single thing within my power to make sure that the chiropractic profession is the most prominent conservative care option for patients worldwide. So to me, that is where I would like to see chiropractic in 20 years. I'd like to see chiropractors continuing to focus on the chiropractic adjustment, because I think that's the unique value proposition that nobody else does better than us, that we keep learning more about, and it keeps getting better. And I would love to see us be able to apply that in a variety of means. So that means more on this. I love how there's chiropractors on every professional sports team. That's all performance. That's all maintenance and all wellness and injury prevention mixed. I love the fact that at the CrossFit Games, you got Rock Tape and their crew kind of out there doing their thing on rehab and performance. I love the fact that there are chiropractors that are taking care of kids, that are taking care of elderly and helping them get well and stay well. So what I'd love to see is for chiropractors to become, as they are today, but become universally known, which we are not as of today, as the best, the most safe and effective conservative care, healthcare option on the planet. I'm totally for chiropractors being able to do things outside of the chiropractic adjustment, but I think our core unique value proposition is still that hands-on care. People love it, and it's just helped millions of people.
And by you saying all that, I really think it's awesome that you figured out how to work referrals from the medical professionals. And I think that so many people out there, kind of stand in their own little hole and say, you know what, if it's not chiropractic and if I don't get it from this, I'm not going to do it for that. And, like you were saying, people silo themselves up into this idea that the world is this way and it's not that way. And they actually stand in front of themselves and don't allow themselves to grow. And when I hear what you're doing, you said you've had your evidence-based chiropractic page for about 5 years. I don't know if you knew this about me, but I didn't even get onto the social media platforms till about 3.5 years ago.
Gotcha.
So, this is confidence to anybody out there. If you go fast and furious and you stay true to the path that you're on, anybody can come to prominence when it comes to branding themselves, making a movement for the profession, and really contributing at a high level. Yep. And, with all that being said, I'm really interested in what you really focus on for your marketing. I know you do a lot with social. Are there any other types of marketing that you do, or what's your real world education for marketing?
Yeah, so marketing's really kind of my passion. I always say the evidence-based chiropractor is where marketing and research meet. It's research, but it's got to be people have to care about it. You got to have the content and the context, as Gary Vee would say, and I 100% agree. So for me, my primary marketing channels have been a couple different ways. So Facebook's been a linchpin, right? I mean, Facebook ads, Facebook video, just the Facebook page itself and the ability to get info out through it is a primary mechanism that I've used. And I just was looking through the Facebook ad. I was estimating, because it was too many to count. I probably ran an excess of 700 to 800 Facebook ads minimum. I might be well over 1,000. I was looking at the list; it just was absolutely crazy. So I've run a lot of Facebook ads. I think that that's a great way to reach people. It's a great way to, again, kind of educate, inform, enlighten, and all that fun stuff. I also do still a good amount of email. I love email marketing. I think it's great when you can deliver value through an email, because it's quick, it's simple, it's directly to the individual. And the great thing about the email marketing, as you know, is then you can segment. So, sometimes people, email can get a bad rap because it's like, I don't know, like I don't want emails with all this junk coming in. Well, the good guys, so to speak, are able to actually see what the individual that's getting the email is clicking on. And then you can make them receive more of that. You can deliver more of that value, of that content. So that segmentation, that's what that's called, that segmentation of email has been something that I think has been a huge ad for me probably over the last 2 years. And I'll just talk, I'll get in the weeds a little bit. I went from MailChimp to Infusionsoft. So those are two kind of email customer management products. And I know you guys know that, but for anybody out there that doesn't. And I went from MailChimp, which was basic, but really, really good. I used it for multiple years. But then I switched to Infusionsoft, which really allowed me a massive amount of flexibility. And I feel like I've been able to deliver way more high-value content to the people that have raised their hand and wanted to receive it. So email is huge for me. Facebook is huge for me. I do use LinkedIn, but no paid ads, but I put out stuff on LinkedIn. I love the Reddit, the subreddits on chiropractic and chiropractic marketing, and being able to chip in and kind of contribute there. And also I use Instagram more for just lifestyle and behind the scenes than anything else.
Do you I think you did mention LinkedIn. What do you see that as a leverage point for growing a practice?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to connect with other business owners. So, probably the way that I view it, I connect with a lot of chiropractors worldwide on it. But from a local perspective, what I would do, I'd be, go to your local networking groups and connect with those people on LinkedIn. Go to the local businesses, like everybody that. There's businesses all over the place. So look around your street, around your town, and find other local businesses and connect with those individuals on LinkedIn. That's a great way when you put a post that they're going to see it. It's just another distribution avenue. So again, LinkedIn, you want to be careful. You don't want to be super spammy. You don't want to be super super advertising heavy. It's a professional site, and you also don't want to be too personal with it. It's a professional business level site, but it is a great way to connect with other business owners. And here's the thing, when you connect with another business owner, if it's an air conditioning company, they have 25 employees, well, if you can connect and resonate with the owner of that company, well, that might open up an opportunity for you to be able to gain access to those 25 employees. Maybe teach them some safe lifting, maybe teach them some ergonomics, teach them about their spine and how they can stay well. Bonus, obviously, the value add for that business owner is the guys will stay on the job longer and less time with injury. The opportunity for you is you get some new patients, some new exposure, and the opportunity to do what you do best. So I think LinkedIn can be a really crucial point to connect one-on-one with other business owners in your community.
Wow, I think that adds a lot of value to people, because I think there's a lot of people out there that might be like really confused on what LinkedIn can really do for them. I see a lot of people are like, oh, that's just kind of like, it's there and I don't know how to use it. And I think that gives people a lot of, flexibility when it comes to what they might be able to accomplish if they work the platform the right way. And,
yeah, no doubt.
As I hear you talking, I know, how long have you been out as a DC? I'm unclear on how long you've been out there practicing.
Decade. I graduated in 2006.
Okay, so I want to do a little role play with you, and it's you to yourself. What would you tell your younger self as being out of school for a decade on the day of graduation that you know now that would benefited you more right as you finished school?
I would immediately start building my audience online. Even if I did not know where I was going to practice, I would start building my audience online. And I would do it even as a student. And I would do it by talking about what I know. I would not try to pretend to be what I am not. And I would show that behind the scenes. I would, again, as you guys well know, I would do as much I would mix in the creation with the documentation. People love seeing behind the scenes. And when you're coming out of school, people are fired up. Like, I was pumped. I had a ton of energy. I wanted to scream from the rooftops about chiropractic and about what I knew about the human body and interesting points. And, oh my gosh, this guy's doing that. And from a nutritional perspective, I know this now. It's so exciting. And I would turn all of that into great content online. You might not have an individual cameraman. You might not have the best lighting. You might not have the best microphone. What I'd say is do the best you can with what you have, but most importantly, just get started. Students out there and new docs know so much, and sometimes as excited as you can be, it can also be a little bit intimidating. And it's, do I really know this? Am I an imposter? I don't have the experience. And that can be, for some of us, a little bit intimidating. But what I would say would be start small, start with what you love, whether it's sports chiropractic, nutrition, wellness, human optimization. Get on social media, get on Facebook, get on the channels of distribution, the primary ones that work for you, and start spreading your message and building your audience. No matter where you go, I can assure you that will serve you well. If you love talking, start a podcast. If you don't mind being on video, do the video. If you're a great photographer, you love messing with your iPhone all day long, do it on Instagram. But find that channel that resonates with you and just start spreading your message. Tell what you love about, tell where you have challenges, tell where you see opportunities, and you will find that you will build a crowd. You will build an audience, you will build a tribe, and you will build a crowd of people. And then no matter where you go in the world, those will always be people that you'll experience. Those people will be fans for life potentially, but it also will give you that super valuable experience because, hey, then if you decide to move halfway around the world, well, now you've already done it. You've already built a crowd. You've already built an audience, and then you can start doing it again with what you've learned the first time.
It's just like Les Brown always says, you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great.
Absolutely true.
And I was always told that you don't have to get it right, but you got to get it going.
Yeah, both. Yeah, I would 100% agree with both of those statements. It's like the first, there's so many sayings about it because it's the truth. It's like, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step and everything else in between. It's like that first step is hard. Like, it's easy to find the resistance. It's easy to find I just need to buy this one more thing from Amazon. Well, my lighting's not good enough. Well, this guy's stuff looks a little better. Well, I don't really like how I look on video. You have to be able to push through that resistance. Now, you also should be real with yourself. And if you're just not cut out for one of the mediums, if you're not like a writer, don't write a 500-page book. Like, don't do it just to do it. Do it because you love it. But I can guarantee you, whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's text, all of us have a skill that resides in one of those three things. And if you're a chiropractor out there getting started, then you better be ready to spread that message. And those are the three mediums that are time tested. They've been around for the last 10,000 years. They'll be around for the next 10,000 years. So finding what resonates with you and taking that first step is my biggest item that I would say to myself or to anybody getting out of school. The sooner you get started, the sooner you get going, no doubt.
So there's a two-part thing I'm going to discuss with you here. And the first thing would be to touch on that point of it takes one step. And I don't know how many people really know about what my interests are, but I hike big mountains. And one of the most inspirational things I've ever done in my entire life is a couple years back, I hiked up to the top of a 14,000 foot peak, and there was a blind man with his little walking stick and a guide, and he managed to walk himself to the top of a mountain. And with no vision but the ambition to do so, we can do anything that we want to. And I challenge every group of chiropractic students that I talk to that you're able-bodied, you're intelligent, you test, you can pass exams, you can learn how to adjust. There's nothing that can stop you from being the best of what you want. And if I can walk to the top of a 14,000 foot mountain with a blind man and he can summit a peak, that tells me anybody's capable of doing anything.
Yep, absolutely.
And the other side of that statement was you said something about building your audiences. And when it comes to a chiropractor, what is an ideal audience for someone to build for their marketplace? And you said start now, but who do they look to build their audiences? I mean, are they looking to friends and family? Are they looking to colleagues? Are they looking to other chiropractors? Are they looking to business people? I mean, can we niche down a little bit and talk about what type of audience somebody would want to build for themselves?
Yep, and that's an easy one. And I'm gonna give you both sides of the coin on that. The truthful answer is whoever you want, and that sounds not like a good answer, but here's exactly what I mean by that. Most guys and gals, most chiropractors, when they come out of school, you kind of know already a little bit, and it might be a little broad, but you know kind of like what you resonate with. Are you a super tall, fit dude who's super into CrossFit? Like that's probably going to be the people that you're going to want to see in your practice. Do you have a special place in your heart for pediatrics? Do you have a special place in your heart for geriatrics? Like, who do you resonate with, and what do you want to see? Like, just visualize your ideal practice. Maybe it's a little bit of everything. Maybe, that's cool too. But then I would start building the messaging based around there. Here's what I mean by that, is that if I loved to do pediatrics, I wanted a pediatric practice, that's where I'm spending all my time in school. I'm going to the pediatric club, I'm reading all the pediatric books. I probably don't hop online and create a video on the newest geriatric research paper, So I want to hop online and talk pediatrics. I want to talk about what I learned that day. I want to talk about the interest that I've had. If I'm super into sports and working out, and I love CrossFit and that kind of thing. I might talk nutrition. I'm going to talk about my workout. I might post my pre and post workout stretches, my nutritional component. I'm going to talk about that because I know it's going to resonate with the people that are like-minded. I'm going to know it's going to resonate with the people that I want to be talking to. If I am super into geriatrics, if I want to build my practice on Medicare seniors and everything else, I'm going to change that and talk a little bit about, hey, here's some things that you can do when you're swinging the golf clubs for the first time that year. Here's a few simple stretches. When you are trying to stay active later in your years, here are some simple tips that you can utilize at home to make sure you are staying as active as possible. So what I suggest is take stock, look back on what you as an individual like and what resonates with you and where you want to go with your practice. You're not locked in for life by any stretch, but it gives you a good starting point for where you can tailor your message. Because when you start speaking to that audience, to that individual, that's going to give you the opportunity to kind of grow that audience.
So what kind of things do you like to listen to or read? Do you have any podcasts or blogs that you follow regularly?
Yeah, so a couple. One that I consistently follow. Well, I got my phone right in front of me. Let me take a look right now, actually. So Signal versus Noise is Jason Fried. He runs Basecamp, formerly 37 Signals. Signal versus Noise is one of the best blogs out there. Jason is a super, super smart dude. It's like business and entrepreneurial related, but I think he does a fantastic job. I listen to the HBO Boxing podcast because I'm a ridiculously huge boxing fan. I listen to Noah Kagan Presents. Noah was a 30th employee at Facebook, the 4th employee at Mint, and he runs AppSumo and SumoMe, two companies out of Austin. I've known Noah for quite a few years. I go to all his events. I use all his products. He has killer interviews. Noah Kagan Presents. That's one I listen to consistently. My friend Justin Jackson, he runs Mega Maker and Product People Club. He lives up in Canada. I listen to both of his podcasts, entrepreneurial podcasts. Super cool dude. He's presented at multiple huge tech and entrepreneurial conferences. I listen to, what else? And I listen to Walking the Floor with Chris Shiflett, who's guitarist in the Foo Fighters. And Walking the Floor is like a music podcast that he interviews a bunch of really cool dudes. So those are the podcasts that I listen to super consistently. For blogs, Signal versus Noise, again, that's a big one for me. I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I read a lot on HubSpot, on Moz, M-O-Z. Those are the first things that come to mind for me.
So is there any app that you couldn't do without?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really cheesy one, but it's the truth, is my Facebook page manager app, because it's how I get on, the evidence-based chiropractor page, consistently throughout the day, and can kind of interact with people, post on the go. So yeah, probably the Facebook app, or the Facebook page app more specifically, is definitely the number one that I would struggle with if that got stripped off my phone.
So Jeffrey, we're coming to the end of the interview with you today, and we're so thankful to have you on, as I believe you're our 11th guest. And we've had some really dynamite guests on the Chiro Hustle podcast. Can we just drop some resource knowledge to people, like where they can get in touch with you, some web addresses that they can follow up with you, and some things that they might be able to, get from you as a resource?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I know, we've been going back and forth. I've been pumped to get on the podcast. I've been pumped to chat with you. I've met both of you guys. I look forward to spending a lot more time together. I love what you guys are doing. Chiro Hustle podcast, awesome idea. I think the execution has been great. You guys are just doing a great job bringing some of these stories to other chiropractors, so hopefully, again, they feel inspired, they feel supported, and so big kudos to you guys, first off the bat for making it happen. So thank you. Absolutely.
Well, nothing happens until something moves.
No doubt. Getting back to the 1,000 miles with one step, I agree with you. So, but if anybody wants to check out what I'm about, you can visit theevidencebasedchiropractor.com, theevidencebasedchiropractor.com. That's kind of the hub of all things. I have a YouTube channel, The Evidence-Based Chiropractor, an Instagram account, The Evidence-Based Chiropractor, a Twitter account, The Evidence-Based Chiropractor. You can reach me, Jeff, at theevidencebasedchiropractor.com. You could also listen to, I put out a podcast every Monday morning at 6 a.m. Research in the time it takes to get to your office. So every episode is less than 15 minutes. So a doc on Monday morning can get some research and marketing as they drive to their practice. So it's kind of hard. Once you find me, it's kind of hard not to. but those are some simple places. And if anybody just wants to connect, give me an email, shoot me an email, Jeff at theevidencebasedchiropractor.com. I'm happy to help anybody out, offer my insight, give some feedback. I'm an open book as far as that goes. So I'm happy to help anybody out there in any way I can. I don't know everything. I know a couple things, and I know a lot of good people, including you guys. So.
Well, it's very reciprocal too, and I look forward to having a very long, happy friendship with you and learning from you as well, and hopefully being a good resource for you down the line. And maybe we can just change the way that people think about healthcare of this world. And if anything, we're going to inspire more people to understand the real power of chiropractic.
Undoubtedly, one step at a time.
Once again, thanks for being on the show today, Dr. Jeffrey. It's been an honor chatting with you.
Thank you, Luke. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully Doc's got some good take-home messages, and they can implement PubMed search. Easiest place to start. Build that profile. Get the research delivered to you. Great place to start for sure. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.